See, let's bring, and we're gonna have a full live. This is gonna be a full session. So there she is.
Hey, how you doing? You got me here? Great.
We got you. We got you. Perfect.
Awesome.
All right. So as we have some more folks joining, I just want to kind of recap what I was saying is that Chief Larson heads our Firefighter Recruitment Section. And from the Join LAFD account that a lot of you hopefully follow, if you don't, you need to follow right after this, we're going to talk about all things firefighter hiring and recruitment. And not just, we're going to obviously talk about things that are specific to the LAFD, but I also think that a lot of what we're going to discuss will benefit anyone who wants to pursue a career in the fire service.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't you agree? Yeah. Okay,
yes.
So why don't you go ahead and give us a quick introduction about yourself, and then we'll just jump right in.
Okay, so my name's Kris Larson. I'm the Battalion Chief that's in charge of the recruitment section for the fire department. So we have youth programs as well as recruitment. So obviously with COVID, things have changed a little bit. We're kind of going slow with our recruitment efforts right now. We do have a drill tower class going on right now, so that's awesome. We're still going to get more people in through, but 2020 has definitely slowed down our hiring process for sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay. We're gonna start this by asking you to give us a very brief top line view of what the steps are in the LAFD hiring process. Now, we're not talking recruiting, we're the actual hiring process. Just give us the top line.
Okay, so the biggest thing is that we are, even though we're firefighters, you and I, we are hired by the City of Los Angeles. So City of Los Angeles controls the hiring for the fire department. So hiring is kind of a two-step process. We open it with city personnel. After they open it, it's open for a defined period of time. We don't have a continuous opening filing period. So this year we opened in February, we closed in August. So a little bit longer than our normal 2 to 4 months. It stretched out a little bit longer. So there's two things that you have to do. You have to actually put in your application on government jobs, and there's always a link on our joinlafd.org website. And then you actually have to take the written test, or what we call the FCA. That's administered by a private testing agency. It costs $69. And once you get a passing score on that, you're now considered in the process to actually move forward. Moving forward requires just having your name in, and when personnel says we're going to draw names for your interviews, completely random name draw, all of a sudden they spit out somewhere between 200 to 400 names, depending upon how many candidates they think they're going to use. They pull those names, people are selected for an interview. Our recruitment section gives you an opportunity to come down for, well, it used to be to come down for interview prep. Now we've migrated that to online, and we'll continue that online because we've got about a 50% increase in attendance going to the online platform. And that teaches you how to do our behavioral-based interviews. Our interviews are 100% how you move forward in the process. So the higher the score, the better off you are. 70% a passing, but realistically, with so many people and as competitive as it is, a 70% will not move you forward.
Right.
Once you move to the passing score on your interview, you come down to our Frank Hodgkins Training Center in person for pre-employment background, which we call our PIQ, and baseline fitness testing. At the PIQ appointment, there's 2 packets of information that we ask you to fill out. It's sent to you in a fillable PDF form, so we highly suggest that you type that document.
Yeah.
It makes it easier for the captains that are reviewing it, as well as the investigators, to follow, so that they can read phone numbers and email addresses and all contact information that you're required to provide. You do your baseline fitness test, and at that appointment is when you are required to give us passing scores on your CPAT exam, provide that certification, and provide your EMT card.
And if I could just stop you right there for
Yep.
a second, Chief, because these 2 elements are questions that are most common.
Sure.
So just want to clarify and reiterate what you just said. So for all those people asking us, do I have to be an EMT before I apply?
No.
There's your answer right there. It's not until you reach this point in the process, which could be months.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So you have time. You don't have to have it when you apply. And the the CPAT, so the Candidate Physical Assessment Test. That's basically the physical
ability test. Yes.
Physical abilities test. Sorry, yeah. So it's the obstacle course that you have to complete. This is the point that you have to have that as well. So just we get that all the time. So to be clear, you do not have to have EMT before applying, nor do you have to have your CPAT completed before applying. You need it at this stage.
Exactly, at this stage. Cool. And remember, your CPAT is good for us for 1 year. So if you're in the process for a while and you choose to get that CPAT certification before you apply, you will likely have to renew that certification during the process because it's required to be valid throughout the time that you're in the application process. Right. So it costs $150 to take, and we have links to not only the videos for that, but the actual events themselves on our joinlafd.org page. Great.
And I'm going to say this a number of times because we feed this information regularly. Is all of this, everything that Chief Larson is saying is available on the website at joinlafd.org. Say that again, joinlafd.org. And we highly recommend you get into that website and really spend time understanding everything that is available there. Because something that I say frequently on social media when we get these same questions over and over is you have to take the initiative to get into and understand the information we've made available. Because if you're not someone who has that initiative, you're never going to make it as a firefighter. It's like a pre-screening. If you have to be constantly fed everything and you don't get out there and absorb the information that's made available, that's an indicator that you're not ready for this career. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. Even through the emails that we get, people want like specific steps that they can take. Everybody's journey into the fire department is different. And so while you have to have an EMT and you have to have a CPAT for our department, there's many different ways to get in. And because it can take a long time to get hired, there are people that get lucky and it's the first department they apply for and they get hired right away, and great for them. There's other people that it takes them 3, 4, 5, I've heard 6 or 7 years applying for different fire departments all over the Western United States or all over the country. And so you have to be persistent and know that getting hired by a government agency is not the same as getting hired by a Starbucks or a Costco. Our background process takes a long time. It just does. It's not a few days. It's more like a few months. So you have to be patient. This isn't, I'm applying today and I'm going to get an interview tomorrow. It's, I'm going to apply and I may have to wait, 3, 4, 6, 7 months. We use a 2-year hiring list. So our list is good for 2 years. So we've updated the website to anticipate opening up filing again in spring of 2022.
Okay, and so I'm going to reiterate that again because that's one of our questions is for everyone asking the application, because it's not that we'll start interviewing then, it's that the next round of applications will be accepted. And right now the anticipation is, say that again, spring of 2022. Okay, spring of 2022.
Correct.
Right now we are not taking applications. Anyone that's in the hiring process has already submitted. It's not open. So no new people into it until spring of 2022. Okay. All right. So we're going to start. We have a bunch of questions that we took in from people submitting them to us. So we're just going to start at the top.
Okay.
All right. So what advice do you want to give to a candidate in general? Just kind of your top line advice to someone wanting to become a firefighter.
I'd say do your research on the department that you're trying to get hired by. When that job bulletin comes out, read it, print it out, highlight it, download it, mark everything up, know what the requirements are, know when you have to turn all your documentation in. And then fire departments are looking for well-rounded candidates. So I can't say, oh, you have to get your education. Oh, it has to be a degree in fire science. That's not the case anymore. People are coming into the fire service that are transitioning from different jobs. The goal is that you've got to be a servant leader. You have to have that level of compassion for your fellow man or woman, because really what you're doing at the end of the day is serving the general public on their worst day when they have nobody else to call. So it's important that you go into this service career with that in mind. It's hugely important.
Yeah. All right. What do you think is the most important attribute for a firefighter recruit to be a good candidate? What do you think the most important attribute?
That's a good one. I think being well-rounded, and in our drill tower is 22 weeks, and it is difficult. It is extremely difficult. So whatever you think the hardest thing you've ever done is, multiply that by about 10, and that's probably what you're going to experience in the academy. It is challenging, and our fire chief has told every single recruit class since we started in 2013 that I hope you graduate together, and we have yet to have that happen. It is super difficult. It's just challenging, both mentally and physically. So you have a physical component and you have a mental component, and you're going to become, as like we like to say, a jack of all trade and master of none. You are going to learn a whole lot of stuff. Auto mechanics, electrical, building construction, roof types, in addition to all the medical stuff, fighting fire, looking at brush fires, how do you take apart a car. There's just so much that there is to learn. You have to be open to learning, and you have to be willing to change, because this is an ever-evolving field.
Yeah. Is there something that you wish you knew? So when you think back to when you were looking to become a firefighter, is there something you wish you knew then that you know now?
How much I was going to love it. And then I guess also how challenging it's going to be, you know, sleepless nights, working weekends and holidays. My family has learned that Christmas doesn't fall on Christmas Day. Christmas is whenever I have the day off. And so I thank goodness for my family and being supportive. I think that's probably one of the other things is this career is challenging. It's difficult. It's stressful at times. And having that family support is critical in your success in this career.
Yeah. So we talked about when the application period will open again, but what do you currently anticipate in terms of the numbers of academies that will be run over the next 2 years?
So right now, the fire department budget, based on the issues we're having with COVID, we have 2 classes a year. Okay. So currently we have a class now. We won't have another class till the next fiscal year, which for those of you that are not in a civil service world, that would be July. So sometime after July, I don't know the specific date. So yeah, 2 classes a year until budget issues change.
Okay. Is there any benefit to attending college or getting your degree before applying?
Education is always a good thing. I'm never going to disregard education. I came on with my bachelor's degree. I've since pursued a master's degree. And knowing that there could be a lag time between when you actually apply and when you get hired by a fire agency, having a degree just makes you a better, well-rounded candidate, more qualified. For our job, if you want to be a chief officer, you're going to need at least a bachelor's degree. So knock it out. Start at the community college level, take the classes. That way they're cheaper, and then pursue your 4-year degree. Okay.
Does the LAFD keep the same standards when hiring women?
One standard, everybody's got to meet it. And it's difficult. It's difficult for the men and for the women. I don't know. I don't keep tallies on who's coming in and who's going out. That's on the recruit services side. But every class has people that wash out for either academic or physical reasons, and it's gender blind.
Yep. When you're in the interview process, what do you look for in an ideal candidate? What comes out in the interview when someone's preparing for that? What should they be trying to communicate?
Our interviews are behavior-based interviews. So we're not going to ask you how to fight fire in a building. So on our website, or you could just Google behavior-based interviews. Behavior-based interviews don't say you have to be this or have to be that. You're telling a story of you and how it relates to the fire service, how you could benefit that fire agency. So what are the best qualities? Compassion, humility, willingness to serve. And what have you done, and how does that translate to the fire department in your life, whether it's athletics, whether it's being an auto mechanic, a teacher, anything can be translated into what we do. And that's why I think our online interview prep has been so successful, because we have a great cadre of people that really break it down for you and put it in simple, digestible terms.
Great. And sticking with the topic of interviews, I had a couple of people ask, in terms of the tone of the interviews,
Okay.
do you think there's room for a little bit of humor that might lighten the mood? Or do you think this is like you need to be on your most professional the whole time? You know, there's different styles. What do you think about that?
This is a professional interview. You're asking for a professional job. And a story that you tell might be a little bit humorous, but the tone of the overall interview, your attire, your demeanor should represent something professional at all times.
Absolutely agree. What's the tattoo policy for new recruits?
Everybody has the same tattoo policy. If you come in and you have tattoos during your background, you will have those photographed and uploaded. If you have tattoos that show below, say, your elbow, that show below a short sleeve shirt, you're going to have to wear long sleeve shirts throughout your career. And, you know, they try not to have ones that are visible on your neck or on your face. If they do, then you're going to have to cover them up.
Okay. Now, we talked about this briefly, but I'll give it a moment to highlight it. How does the city really, the question was how the department, but as we know, it's the city that runs this process. How does the city decide who's going to move on to the interview phase once you've successfully passed the computer-based test?
So that's a completely random draw. They decide that they're gonna get a group of people, and I've seen numbers around 200, and I've seen as high as 800, and it's random selection. They use a computer model. They push a button, and it's not, you know, and then out pop those names, and then those people are notified that they have an interview. And at the current time, we're letting people self-select the date and time of their interview, and interviews are online through either Zoom or Google Meet kind of platform.
Okay. So that was another question we were coming to, is that we are doing them via Zoom or some kind of virtual interview.
It's an online platform, yes. So the interview is with an interview specialist with the personnel department and usually a fire captain within the Los Angeles Fire Department.
Okay. And that actually, you know, because obviously we have a lot of people that don't live in LA that are applying. Sure. And it actually, while it's not ideal in terms of really getting to know that person, it's a little more challenging. It opens up logistically, it makes it a lot easier for people that aren't in the region to be able to go through the process.
Correct. Yeah. We have people that apply from all over the country. So this is a benefit. They do still have to come and do an in-person day for their pre-employment background and the baseline fitness test, but that lessens the amount of times that they have to come, back and forth to LA.
Yeah. And this ties into our next question about our military members and our veterans. So two-part question. Well, no, one part observation, one part question. So for those, we get a lot of questions about transitioning out of the military and wanting to be in the application process. And this is a great example how minus that day that you do need to be here, if you make it that far, you could go through this whole process while you're still active duty in the military.
Absolutely.
Your duty assignment, even if you get the interview, you could do that remotely. And then, so that really helps the military members as well.
Yes, it does.
And then the question to that is, what kind of consideration do veterans get in the hiring process in terms of, if you could talk about the credit, the points?
Okay, so the bonus really only comes to play if you do not do well on the interview. So if you scored an 85 in your active military, it's going to give you a 90. If you get 100 on your interview, it's not going to give you 105. You have 100. We don't go over bonus. And that's really the only place that it comes into play. And it's active military. There's very specific criteria, and that's set by the city personnel department.
Excellent. All right. If you receive an email that says you have not been selected in terms of moving forward in the process, are you removed from the process? Are you retained for future consideration? What does exactly that mean for you?
So a non-select letter means that in this current hiring process, you are not selected as a candidate. You're always have the opportunity to apply for the next round. But basically they're saying they have people that they feel are more qualified than you at this particular point in time. And so they'll send you a non-select letter. And
so it's effectively an end game for this hiring period.
Correct.
It's not like you're in a second tier that may get looked at again. You're done, but you can always reapply the next time.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I know we don't have an exact answer to this, but once you get notified that you've passed the written, what's kind of the estimated timing for interviewees to be selected? Do you know, is it a few months? Like what could people expect?
So once you take the written test, they usually wait till the filing period closes. So in this case, for this specific 2020 application period, the filing period closed in August. Because of COVID, we let the people take the written test for about a month longer, and we closed that period in September. So I'm almost got final numbers, but I'm pretty sure I've got pretty close to what I'm going to get. So there's a little bit of lag time before we get the final numbers. So once those numbers are set, unless personnel says we're going to pull names, even though we haven't finished the filing period hasn't closed, then you may get an opportunity. We did do that this period. We pulled because we had made an announcement at the beginning of the process that if you had your completed application and test in by March, I think it was March 15th or 13th, that we would draw names after that, and we did. Now we did 2 name draws, and we call them selective random samples. Those people are in the process and are going forward with their backgrounds. So there's no bonus to applying the first day, taking your test the first day, because until that filing period closes, you're likely not going to hear anything. So right. If the filing period closes after 4 months, you have 4 months where you're not really going to hear anything. If the personnel department says we're not going to draw any names, so right. Then they could say another month after that, okay, now we're going to draw names. And usually what will happen is if they draw names, sometimes they'll send a letter out that says, hey, you weren't selected this round. Doesn't mean you're out of the process. It just means your name wasn't pulled this round. You're still in the process for your name to be drawn in the future.
Which is different from getting a non-select.
If you got a non-select letter, it means you've already gone through the background and the baseline fitness test. You've had your packet reviewed, and at some point they've said no.
Right.
So there's 2 kind of different processes.
Right. To be clear, so we have those people that have interviewed, mm-hmm. and then after the interview, they get a letter at some point after the interview saying you have been non-select, versus those who have not yet interviewed, who get a notification saying you weren't selected yet for an interview.
Right.
Okay.
So I think that confuses people sometimes.
Yeah.
A little bit.
So do you know right now so the people that got their applications in, they've passed the test, and they're waiting to hear, do you know where we stand? Are there any interviewees that don't yet know that they're interviewed? Where are we at right now?
Yeah. So basically, and I'm still my section is still working on this. I have about over 10,000 applications, and I have only about 4,600 people that completed the written exam. So my thought is that people aren't actually reading what the requirements are, because I shouldn't have a 50% drop. If I have 10,000 applications, I should have 10,000 people who have taken the written test, but they haven't. So if you were one of those candidates that all you did was turn in an application and you never took the written test, you will never be notified for an interview, because as far as we're concerned, you're not in the process. You didn't complete
you've dropped out. Right.
Right now, I don't know when they're going to do another name draw.
Okay.
For interviews. I have no clue. I would suspect that since I've been told by the recruit selection side that we're slowing everything down, that I don't expect it for at least a few more months.
Okay. And so for those people that submitted the applications, they're part of that 10,000, but they never took the written, are they still able to do that at this point, or have they already expired?
Right. No, if you had not taken that written test, that fire candidate assessment
you're
test
out.
By September 15th, you're out.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So for all those who are asking, you may have put your application in, but you never actually took the test. You're done. You got to wait till spring of 2022.
Correct.
Okay. And we got that question answered. So another common question we get are for people that are not U.S. citizens. So can you talk about what is required in terms of the right to work versus citizenship in order to apply?
Okay. So The way it stands now is you have to have the legal right to work in the United States, and the fire department does not provide a work visa for you. So if you don't have the legal right to work in the United States, then at some point, if you did apply and you got all the way to the part where we offered you a job and you don't have the legal right to work, that offer would be rescinded. The other issue for people that are naturalized citizens but maybe grew up in a foreign country, at the application part and during the background, they look for your high school diploma. On the website, there's a way for you to look to see if your high school diploma meets the California equivalency. And so that's just kind of another step that people that are naturalized citizens are going to have to go through if they got degrees, whether it's high school or college degrees from outside of the United States.
Okay. So just to reiterate, for all those that ask us, because we get this question a lot as well, you must already have the legal right to work in the U.S. in order to be hired. You can enter the process, but you have to have that in order to accept a job offer, and the department cannot provide that for you.
Correct.
You have to have that on your own. Okay. Now we also get questions of people that were like in the 2018 process. Now, are there any kind of hangovers or any people that interviewed that haven't been notified? If you were in that process prior to this most recent, does that list still exist, or are we on one list from those that applied in this most recent hiring?
So 2018 was the first time, since I can remember, that we offered every single person on the list the opportunity to interview.
Okay.
So everybody on that list got an opportunity to interview, whether they showed up for their interviews or not, or if they moved forward or not. It was unique. So as soon as the application period opens from the next period, that former list ceases to exist.
It's done.
So
okay.
If you were in the 2020 process and you were waiting and hadn't heard, hopefully you applied in the 2020 process. There's a whole way that the written test works. So if you took the written test in 2018, you did not need to take the written test in 2020. And so all you needed to do was reapply. If you had taken the 2016 written test, didn't get hired, you didn't have to take it in 2018, but then you again had to take it in 2020. So there's some really weird, confusing language, and I'm trying to work on that, but we got to get all the personnel people back and have some discussions internally about that.
Okay. All right. I think that helps clear. The bottom line is this 2020 application period is the only one that is under consideration.
Correct.
Thing. Okay. And then, all right, let me just make sure we've got our questions.
So, and let me, I saw something about written test results. So
yeah,
written test is done through an outside agency. It's PSI exams. It's called the Fire Candidate Assessment. It's PSI exams. The fire department, LAFD, all we get notified is if you passed or failed. The results come to you. We have no way of checking those results or doing anything like that. No notification comes to the fire department except if you passed. So if for some reason you messed up an email or a phone number, if you are not getting your results, you have to call the testing company because the fire department does not have access to their records. Gotcha. I just saw something come up, so I just really quickly.
And let's talk about getting your paramedic license versus going to a private academy. You know, we get a lot of questions. Should I do one or the other first? Is it valuable? Is it actually worth it? What are your thoughts on that? Okay,
so I guess for LAFD purposes, we're going to throw you through an academy. So I don't, you know, if money is not an option and you can afford to do that, then go ahead. Same with paramedic school. But what I would say is if you're somebody that's going to apply for a lot of different departments, this is where the education piece comes in. Because some departments require, if it's a smaller department, they may require a paramedic license. They may require that you have a certified firefighter 1 academy. We have a link to EMT schools on our website that are mostly in Southern California, but there's a link to this. There's an address for the state. So if you're not in Southern California, you can look that up. If not, contact your local EMS authority and they can tell you where the EMT schools are in your area. Paramedics are always a bonus. I mean, but it's a challenging course. If you struggled with EMT, my suggestion is you work as an EMT for a while to gain some knowledge and skills and start looking at patients, evaluating patients, because talking about doing advanced medical services on people is a whole nother skill set that is very challenging, very, very challenging.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to review a couple of a few of the key things we talked about. So first off, a lot of this information that we're discussing and more is available at joinlafd.org. So I highly recommend anyone that's interested in becoming a firefighter, not even just with us, there's a lot of good general information in there, to spend some time really reviewing what's in there. Social media wise, follow Join LAFD on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, because things pop up, you guys share information. The next anticipated application opening period is in the spring of 2022. So for those that want to spend some time to get themselves, improve their status as a candidate, you have some time to do that. If you are not a citizen of the country, you have to have the legal right to work before you can accept a job offer, and the city cannot provide you that legal right to work. And we anticipate, unless there's a change in budget, 2 academies per year for the next 2 years. That's the anticipation. And as well as right now, in terms of COVID restrictions, the interviews are being done virtually.
Correct.
All right. So I think those are a lot of the key questions that we get asked repeatedly. So do you have any closing comments you want to provide us? Any parting words for the crew?
I just saw one thing where they were asking, what's the best college degree? So if you're going to pay money to go to college, get your degree in what you're interested in. We have people on this job that have degrees in all kinds of fields. If you're going to spend your money on something that you're going to enjoy. It's not required to have a degree in fire science or public administration or anything like that. My undergraduate degree is sociology. I know people that have had undergrad degrees in poli-sci, in psychology, sociology, dance, computer sciences. Anything that you want to get your degree in, that's what's going to benefit you.
Yeah. And I saw some questions on it, and it reminded me, I wanted to also just talk about medical restrictions. So we've had some questions about, maybe I have a partial disability from the military, or I have asthma, or, my vision isn't great. Can you just talk kind of just big picture on medically what is?
Okay, so medicals are a case-by-case basis. So what I tell people is there's one thing that you can do. You and I both have glasses on, so I will say there is a vision requirement. So if you wear glasses or contacts, please look on our website, look at those numbers, take them to your optometrist, make sure you can pass the written. Having Lasik eye surgery is not a disqualifier. It's highly suggested if you can't meet the vision requirements. For people that for people that have had injuries, all they're going to ask is they're going to look at scars. They want to see doctor's reports. It's a case-by-case basis. I don't know that anything is 100% disqualifier. When you go through your medical, we call it med psych. It's hearing, vision, functional movement. They do respiratory tests. I don't think asthma is a disqualifier. But what I say is go for it and make them tell you no. Why not? It's out there. It's available for you. So you've got to do that. I just answered a question on our email the other day about somebody who had an injury that had metal plates and screws. I don't know the answer, but as long as you have the documentation to show that it was repaired and it's fixed and you have functioned, then that's up to the doctors to tell you no.
And I would say that the CPAT is a good barometer in terms of physical ability. If whatever injury you have, you're able to easily complete that obstacle course, then that could be a good indicator that, okay, you're able to get by. If you're struggling because of an injury, then the likelihood is you're going to have a hard time getting through the physicality of our academy over 22 weeks if you're struggling to complete the CPAT because of whatever injury you may have or disability you may have.
Correct. And I'd go so far as if this is the level of the CPAT then this is the level of fitness
Yeah.
that you need for the academy. They're not
Yeah.
the same. They
Yeah,
don't
no,
even equate.
not at all.
I don't know that it's going on right now, but we have a candidate, a practice that we use at our Drill Tower 81 called the CAPS program. I don't think it's going on right now.
It's virtual right now. Yeah.
But
yeah.
Follow them as well. They'll give you workouts. Those workouts are similar to the workouts that you'll get in the academy. I highly suggest that you take advantage of what those workouts are. And if they kick your butt, know that those workouts are the first hour or two of your 10-hour day in the academy. The rest of the day is the physical and manipulative and academic portion. So it's a long, long day. And I say that because I was a drill tower instructor. And it is a long day for that staff. They work their butts off. It is probably the hardest working job, except for the COVID people right now in the fire department.
Yeah. And also for those who are under 18, oh, that reminds me of two things. So for those under 18 who are too young to yet apply, want to just emphasize that we do have youth programs, the cadet program, and depending on what schools you may be at, that those are great ways to learn about the department, get involved, get some experience before you apply. So I just want to encourage everyone that's not yet finished high school that's there. So go to the website and check that out. And then I also want to hit age, because we get that a lot. Am I too old? Is 31 too old? Is 35 too old? Is 25 too old? Can you just talk quickly about what the age requirements are?
So I'll touch both things. Right now, youth programs are suspended due to COVID. We've suspended the waiting list for cadets because we can't take any more people because the waiting list is already like 1,400 people. So just youth programs, we were thinking maybe the spring, but maybe in the fall. We just got to get past this bad stuff, get people vaccinated as best as possible. I forgot the other part of the question. So
age limit, upper.
So minimum 18 years of old, high school diploma, valid GED. There is no upper age limit. Age is whatever you've got in your mind. When I was at the academy, the oldest person that I had turned 51 in the academy, and he's still trucking along here on the fire department. So yeah, he had done a military career before he came to the fire department. So yeah.
Yeah. So bottom line, there is no upper age limit. It's the individual's ability to get her done.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you taking your time to do this. And we will, once we've got this all finished and saved, we will have it out on all of our social media platforms as a reference people can refer to in the future. Obviously, if something changes, if the situation evolves and we are able to open hiring earlier, etc., any of that stuff, they should be following Join LAFD, obviously our at Los Angeles Fire Department, and go to www.joinlafd.org for the most current, complete information regarding our hiring and recruitment.
Yeah, and we have a captain that's in charge of social media, but I also get on there and answer questions. So if you get a response and you're like, I actually do answer the emails that come in, and I answer the social media questions. I don't know that I'll get all of them done today because I can see a lot of stuff. I did see the question about DACA. DACA relates to having the legal right to work. So if you're DACA, you have to start working on the paperwork so that you can get the legal right to work before you can get hired. So that legal language was something that we hadn't considered right at the beginning. And now that we have those people that are at the age that would to be hired, we really had to make sure that we were in line with what current government policy is. Right.
All right. Well, you have a safe day, Chief. We appreciate it. And until next time, thanks for joining us. All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody. Take care.
All right. So I just want to say thanks again for all that joined us. Now, obviously we know that this hiring period is closed. You're either in the process or you're not. But this information will be valid for the next hiring process. So you've got the heads up now. You know what you need to do. You know how to get prepared. You've got the time to do it. So I hope that this has been useful. Watch it again. Get in the website. Research the information. And then if there's something that you just can't find the answer to, that's when you reach out to Join LAFD and ask your question. But don't inundate them with answers that you can find on your own. okay? Because that's kind of how this job works. You got to find the info on your own. All right, everybody, be safe.